to understand that the process of creation within the structure of his physical existence is the replication of the creation in the universe. And in so many ways, mankind has explained things in two ways without understanding it, and it's tried to benefit one or the other to suit and to fit him the way and where is to his advantage. As you become the passengers of the universe, you travel the span of this beautiful creation. You have to understand where you sit. You have to understand what you're faced with. You have to understand the condition of life and separation from condition of physicality. In the dimension of physicality, you have fields, you call them radiation, gamma, X-ray, or whatever, or cosmic, and many, many more that you will learn according to their strength as you become the passenger of the universe. Then you come into the dimension of life, which is the GANSes, and then you explain the same thing in the examples of like B12, cesium, and deuterium, gamma rays, and alpha rays, where in fact these do not exist in the dimension of the GANSes. Because in the GANSes, the dimension of fields is in energy level of the fields of the structure of every GANS. As we did some tests during the time, and as I said, when you look at some beauties of a man, you'll understand a lot of beauties, but on the other hand, the curiosity of the man brings a lot of knowledge. I'll give you an example. We were invited to be present in a very exclusive presentation by the heads of the EU in a conference in the building of the European Community Central Building, in a very, what I call, governmental secure conference regarding nanotechnology. And in this conference, there was an understanding of how the Keshe Foundation technology as a new nanotechnology could be explained. It was an auditorium, maybe about 100, 200 people. And we went in, as was usual when we got invited to these exclusive meetings. I always asked Dirk Lorentzens, I said, Dirk, come with me. I want you to be there, because then what you learn, we can put into the books and patterns. We went together, and strange enough, that was a time when we just introduced the parachutes, those hooks you see in the Coca-Cola bottle. That was an enigma to the world of nanotechnology, because the leading nanotechnology company in the world was based in Belgium. A lot of you know, they became part of our structure for a short time in Belgium. And we were carrying this parachute with us to show it for the first time in public. And the people who invited us from this organization, which is connected to the government of Belgium, they wanted to show a new nano understanding, because nobody has seen it, a nanomaterial which was producing energy directly from itself. As we were walking in, Dirk turned around and said to me, give me the parachute. I said, why? He says, give me the parachute. And he disappeared. And he was away for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I was waiting to go into the conference. And he came back and said, Mehran, there is a problem. I said, what is the problem? He said, I don't think we're going to present. I said, why? He said, I took the parachutes because we had to pass through the radiation security. You know, they check you, that you don't carry anything. And then they had X-rays, what systems to detect. He came back and said, Mehran, this is worse than Sentex. I said, what do you mean? You know, Sentex, there's dynamites they make, you cannot detect under the, what do you call it, the systems. You can take it with you on board if you get on the plane. I said, yeah. He says, this is the same. It is a new technology, and they don't want to discuss it now. You're not talking. I said, but we came so much. I said, but how come? He said, Mehrad, can have a look. It cannot be seen. We put it, we're watching it, but the system says it doesn't exist. He said, you have discovered a new material, and this is a dream of the man. I said, Dirk? He said, no, Mehrad. They don't even want you to enter into the conference. I said, but Dirk, we came all this way to show this. This is a new discovery. He said, you know something what it means? I said, no. He said, you can carry anything within this box and no one will ever know. You have created a true black hole, and this is frightening the officials. This knowledge has to stay away till we know what to do with it. I said, well, how come you took it to the machine? He said, I had to, because we wanted to know for a long time what this is. Now we had it. So in a way, the heads of the atomic nuclear center and the nano people brought machines too, because I never let these things go. For the first time, they had 10 minutes to assess it, to understand it. And still they couldn't understand it. Then, in that process, we became signatory to 2 confidential contractual agreements with what is known as the Belgium Nuclear Center. They invited us in, and we started testing heavily. I gave, in a contractual agreement with our notaries and one of the directors, trustees of the Keshe Foundation, in the Nuclear Center of Belgium, what's called SCK, a contractual agreement that we provide 3 liquids to the Belgian authorities on the supervision of Americans and the French nuclear centers. I gave them 3 bottles. I said to them, this bottle is a bottle of life. Second bottle is the bottle of this, what we call solar system. And the third bottle is the condition of universe. You will never understand. They tested it. There were about 1.5 liters of each liquid. They tested it for a few weeks, and they came back and they said, we need more. I said, what have you done? You've been drinking it? They said, we can't analyze it. It's too advanced for our technology, but we have seen some things. Then I gave them more. In a way, they wanted to see if I can replicate it or was accidental. They were given 3 more bottles. And then it came the beautiful time. They emptied a tank, about 1 meter by 1 meter, huge tank in the center of the SCK building. And they started vacuuming it out to understand the difference between the position of this material and how it's created and what they knew. We came to a very clear condition, because up to that time, in the atomic center, if you moved any radioactive material from one building to another, you needed permission. But inside the building, you could move. With this new technology and test, they found out from now on, you want to move a nanomaterial from one room to another, you need permission. Because they looked at it as a radioactive material. Then we opened it up to them in a very simple way, and the whole thing collapsed. Yes, it is absorber of every radiation, but when we immerse it and we convert it into a GANS, is the radiation of the body of the man, which means it's not ray, it becomes plasma field. And this was a shock to the world of scientists, that how our system, when it's a matter state, reads it, sees it, and works as a gamma ray. But when it's within the cell of the man in the GANS, it becomes harmless and becomes part of the process of creation, and it becomes essential to the life. So it was interesting to see in those trials. I spent days within the SCK, a foreigner who was allowed to be inside as a nuclear physicist to open the eye of the Belgian scientists. They wrote a report, and I corrected the report, and then they realized more. So for the first time, mankind realized in those tests that we see radiation as a ray, we see fields and energy as a GANS without any harm. Then I had to explain to these people in a very simple way. As many times we have taught, you go to a doctor, you are given, you say, I'm about to create a new creation. And the doctor says, you are pregnant, congratulations. And the next piece of paper comes in front of you, it says, please, can you go and buy yourself some folic acid? And the cycle of time you're pregnant, you take folic acid. But what is folic acid? Folic acid in the matter state is radiation, weak radiation, but at the level of the division of the cell of the womb, because what we call the interaction of the egg and the sperm needs a soft radiation that it can give energy to. So in the womb of the mother, it becomes like, as the present science understands, like the radiation. But in fact, it's the energy which allows more fields to be added from the womb to the cell, to the what we call fetus. And that's how accelerates the life. But when you go as an adult and you cannot and you have problems, they give you B12, where folic acid is known as B9. So the strength of the 12 means is of a higher order. The strength radiation, as man understands in physical dimension. So when you take the B12 and enters the body, it changes by absorption in this what we call the lymph to the plasma and becomes part of life. So it was very hard to explain, and when understood by the nuclear physicists, that we have two types of radiation, one in a matter state and one in a plasma state, which is the essence of creation. This became an evolution in science, which, because it was discovered by Iranian nuclear physicists, could not be spoken. There was a criminal to be Iranian nuclear physicist. We all became terrorists, but became the saviors of life. And we return back that to Iran. The knowledge of creation will come from Iran, and we'll teach more. And in that essence, we understood one thing. When you saw Dr. Jafari and his wife, what we call the sister of Dr. Parviz, brought the paper about the pico and nano, and Dr. Asadi explained it, now this is life. We knew this. Now we had the confirmation of physicality to it. What does this mean? This means life in a what we call smaller dimensions becomes part of the energy of the structure. And in the man's dimension, we see it as energies, what we call radioactive energies, which creates life. So a lot of people will try to understand that when you say a material is radioactive in a matter outside, you can measure it. Inside is not radioactive, but it's the essence of the creation. When somebody claims that GANSs are radioactive and dangerous, it means how infant and what they call illiterate in the knowledge of creation they are. Yes, if it wasn't, doctors won't give it to you, because GANSs have to be, but in the plasma state. They create no harm, and they don't create any, what we call, according to the test done in China and other part of the world, radioactive behavior. These are energies that your body picks up in the packages which comes from it. So when you come to understand, man has to understand, when you pass the spaces, the gaps, you have to analyze, are you passing through a fields of gamma, or are you passing through energy of gamma ray in the dimensions of the universe? Then when is in the dimension of the GANS is food, When is in the dimension of ray is the divider, as we see in radiation and radioactive materials, that they divide cells, because it's a knife, where in the state of GANS is life. There is a big difference between a knife and a life. And those who are ignorant to this knowledge, they will tell you that the GANSes are radioactive and dangerous, and the world of science will laugh them, because it shows how ignorant they are. And this has been already in part of the teachings, and you have learned it. Go to the medical teaching and you will understand. So if and as the Keshe Foundation knowledge grows, you have to be aware when is radioactive, is when it's created by the matter state, X-ray machines, nuclear bombs. When is within your body is the energy source, B12, B6. And many people who are illiterate will try to bring this to frighten the public, because they've been paid to make money somewhere else. These are what we call the agents of those who up to now blocked the technology to come out. And now they think they can use this ignorance of knowledge to their benefit. But as you've all been educated and you understand the difference between the radiation and plasma field energy. So when somebody tells you GANSes are radioactive, yes, of course they are. Otherwise doctors won't give it to you. How stupid are you? And you think you're clever? But we understand this. When we did the test with the Chinese research centers on what we call the wheat and the rice, and it showed that it's not genetically changing anything, it confirmed it's not radioactive. That was a conformity, because if it was, it would have changed physical geometry of the cell. So there is a lot of scientific proofs we can show you. But what you need to know for your soul to understand this in the space, you're becoming the travelers of the space. You have to understand which fields are cutting and which fields are lifing, and how you can change the knife to life. This is what you can do. This is what your body does. Your body continuously does this. Gets the radiation, gamma, X-ray, cosmic rays, and on the top layers of your skin converts it to life. You never find, unless it's so strong that can penetrate, radiation in matter states in the body of man. When it's strong, yes, we've seen it in nuclear. And the strangest thing is, this is what I found out in my early education as a nuclear physicist. There is a difference between the radiation within the body as gamma and whatever, and the radiation outside the body. And in that transition, body converts one to the other. If you understood this, you will go back into the science of what we call physiology of the man. There are 2 points in the intestine that there are very few microns. It took the scientists centuries, decades to even understand this. In your intestine, at a given point, it's very simply what happens is that if this is your intestine, we have taught this in the medical teaching. Now you're becoming man of space, you have to understand. In so many ways, where you start with your mouth, and you go into your stomach, and you digest the food. This is your face, as the British call it, the mush. Up to this point, somewhere here, and then somewhere here. This is a very few micron. Micron cannot be detected. Up to here, the body absorbs B12, which you ate from picking up the fruit from the garden where the manure was used, which manure is partly creation, collection of the fields of higher strengths called B12, or in olden days, people used to use their own excrement They used to put it, energize it, and eat it. And up to this point, the body absorbs radiation. In a way, creates the condition that different strength B12 from here to B12 from here are very different B12s. They're different energies because they have given to increase the energy of your limbs to be able to what condition they go. If your body is short of B12 as given the strength here, and you damage this one, then the cell or the lymph which picked this up, which is missing, will not be able to pass your bone marrow to become part of your immune system. So in a way, in the world of science of man today, when you have a deficiency in your immune system, you go and look what's wrong with the bone, and then you find out which part of the stomach or intestine the radiation has not been absorbed. Your problem sits in your stomach, not in deficiency in your immune system, which means the right radiation from B12 has not been absorbed. So when it comes to this point, red point, up to here, everything goes in. But as these B12s go and carry, the cell still carries a B12. And when it comes to at this strength to this strength, is no use because you want it. So what the body does, body returns back to here, the B12. It's the second time we see absorption of the radiation and conversion from matter state and the plasma state. And then in this point, it comes in as energy of B12. And after this line, it changes to matter of B12 and you reduce it at the excrement. So in the physical life, we see gamma rays, radiations all coming in. And at this point, through the structure of the gravitational magnetic field of 3 layers of the body, we convert these gamma rays into useful gamma energy or the GANS energy. But we see this on the skin, and for the first time, we understood we see it inside the body of the man as well. So in a way, we change, we convert GANSes into some sort of matter energy state that when it comes in touch with the gravitational field of the space of the earth, it changes to B12 as a matter. So your body cannot work without a knife and without a life. In outside become a knife, inside become a life. So when you come to understand this, you understand it's the same. B9, or what you call folic acid, has the strength that it only fits into the liquid of the womb of the mother. That is a soft field for the fetus to grow. So when people tell you GANSes are radioactive, you say, of course they have to be. But they're radioactive in a plasma state. I can drink all of it. Nothing will happen in the water state. But when I eat itself, I create too much energy. Nothing to do with radiation of it. It's the amount of energy that they give. So this becomes part of you to understand. Because in space, the difference between different parts, the space in understanding the work of the fields and the plasma of the fields become important. So when somebody tells you GANSes are radioactive, I said, you stupid guy, of course they are, otherwise you didn't exist. Your body absorbs, eats, and in a way, without it, you have problems. When you see, especially vegetarians coming to you, by the blood test you see. When people come to me, I have this problem, immune system problem, and the rest of it, what do the doctors tell you? You need this, you need that. In the new knowledge of the space technology, we ask for, we want to see the radioactive materials in your body and the position. I want to see the amount of B12 in your body. I want to see the amount of B6, B9, and every other radioactive material which those who understand nothing about the world of creation has been covered under the B cells. All the vitamin Bs are radioactive materials. So when the immune system does not create, you have to see where it's not receiving the energy. Not going and trying to do the damage repair without fixing the brakes. So when you have a vegetarian with you, you understand always they have a shortage of B12. And the level and diversion from this balance point tells you how critical is and what immune system deficiencies and what damages in their body you expect. Because the lower it is, it means the damage is at a higher level of intestine. Because as the food travels along, it loses its energy. So the highest are taken at the top and the lowest. The highest is needed for neurodivision and rapid division of the cells for damages. The lower one is for normal repair. So you got to understand the difference between radioactive in a matter state and plasma field energy of activity as gamma ray in the cell, in the amino acid. A lot of people have tried to test this, and one after another, they have hit the wall. Because unless you increase the huge amount and even understanding of it, then you understand the safest thing mankind will carry is the GANSes, which is the structure of his own body. But you come to one point, the whole of creation. Now that you become man of space, the whole of created things which carry intelligence and life, even a stone has a soul, if you remember, work through an understanding of the difference between the radiation in an open span or radiation within their own structure. You need lower, what you call it, the higher intensity radiations, that they become lower and lower cells, feeders, that in that process they grow to become bigger cells. When you see what I call, as you saw it with the presentation of material from during the what we call the blueprint from Iran, Dr. Asadi explained, we call it to pico and below. You don't come to this if you don't start from this. And to go from this to this, you need plasmatic radiation, which means you take from it and you grow. Plasmatic fields allows it. When we say you take B9 and increases the division of the cell of the child, that is perfect. It doesn't divide it. It creates a radiation field that it can absorb it and grow. We convert into life. This is why many of you, when you test, for example, with the plants which are dying and say it came to life, because this is what you did. You provided it a little. If I can explain it, I explained to my son one day, is when a child is born, you cannot give it steak and chips. Cannot digest, it's too big. The stomach is not ready for it. What do? You give it the love of God, the milk of the mother. Small dosages. And that small dosages, as it enters, you will see your plants grow. Because step by step. If you go in part of the Keshe Foundation teachings in health, you people have a habit of how many milligrams and how many milliliters of GANS, ZN, and this I need. This is your understanding. The way I work is how many drops. One drop of GANS works 1,000,000 times better than 30 ml of GANS. But you don't see it. Man has to have something big to be. In the cases where I go to save life, I use drops. Because if you give this, it's too much, stomach cannot digest. You spoon feed. You introduce a small amount of plasmatic fields as in a way of containing the process to give life. You cannot give to a sick body a steak to eat, but they'll accept drips of food.